Good morning, Facebook. I wanted to talk to you this morning about passwords. It may sound boring, but it's not, because you use passwords everywhere, and if you get this wrong, then you could be hacked, and you don't want to be hacked. So I'm just in the morning, before the gym, enjoying a cup of tea, before I'm going to go train chest. But, okay, so passwords. How many times do you input the same password into brand new websites without really thinking about it? I bet you it's a lot, but I bet you don't know really why you shouldn't do that. Okay, so whenever you give a website your password, you're trusting the way that it stores that password. If they don't store that password in a trustworthy way, and some sites don't, then if anybody's got access to their database of users, which will be people, or if they get hacked, like the likes of Sony and stuff got hacked, then they can see your email address, they can see your password, and what they'll do is they'll just take that combination of things and they will just try it on loads of other services, because they know that people normally use the same password across every single service. So what can you really do to prevent this? Well, one of which is to only really use trustworthy, be very cautious of if you're using services that are not trustworthy. So a red flag, a really big red flag, is when you're browsing the web and you see HTTP in the top left-hand corner rather than HTTPS. If you're logging into something, that's a really big no-no. The next thing you can do, and this is something that I do, is if I sign up for a brand new service that I'm unsure of, I don't know, I don't recognise the name of it, I'll sign up with a new password, or a password that I use for those kinds of insecure services, and then I'll follow the forgotten password process. And if you go through that process, and rather than them asking you to reset your password, or rather than them changing it and sending you a new password, if they send you your old password that you put in there as plain text, oh, that's what it was, and you can read it and put it back in, then essentially you shouldn't trust that service, because anybody who's got access to their database can just find out what your password is, type it in, and away they go. So what's the next thing? The reason why... So even if they do store your password in the right way, you've still got a bit of a problem, because the way sites work typically is when you give them your password, they don't store it. They store a scrambled version of your password, right? So that people, if they saw the database, they wouldn't know what that scrambled version of the password was. So if you then log in, it compares the scrambled password that they've saved against the scrambled password that they've just generated from you typing it in, and it checks that the scrambles match. The problem there is that if you use the same method of scrambling everybody's passwords, then if you got hold of like a database of everybody's email addresses and passwords, you could just try and run a dictionary on all of those scrambles to see what people's passwords are, and if you found any matches, then away you go. You can basically start using that password on other services, and you know what it is. So this is the reason really why you shouldn't use passwords that are too simple, like single words, or words where you've got the vowels substituted for numbers. Even just adding like one or two characters in, like a full stop at the end, or a exclamation mark, or a number, those can be enough to stop people from being able to do these dictionary attacks on like a database of emails and passwords. And if you don't think that people are doing that, just look at the likes of Sony, who were hacked, and all of their PlayStation passwords that were plain text put out there in the world. You look at LinkedIn, they were hacked. I think they had their hash passwords were out there into the world. So these services are getting hacked. So it's every time that happens, there's somebody who's an intelligent person, an intelligent hacker, who is going to be trying these techniques with your password. They're going to be running brute force, getting the computer to crunch as many passwords as possible on as many user records as possible to trying to work out what people's passwords are, so they can use it for fraud, to use it to make money, and use it to take advantage of you. So it may not feel sometimes when you don't necessarily know how all this back end stuff works and it fits together, that there's that risk there, but the risk is real. And finally, the last way that you can protect yourself is to experiment with new passwords however often you feel that you can do it. One technique I would recommend is, rather than like coming up with a brand new password every time, which you should, but let's say your password's really short at the moment, try combining two old passwords for the first time you experiment with a much longer one. And then that way you know both passwords, and you can add like another character on at the end, and then you've got a really long, secure password with letters, numbers, characters, whatnot. That's extremely easy for you to remember. So that's me on password security. You have a good day, and I'm not actually subliminally telling you that I'm going to kill you. It's just a poster I've got on my wall. Have a great day, everybody.